guys, welcome back to another episode of the Whiskey Diaries. My name is Martin Lang, and today here we're going to be talking about Kilchoman, particularly the Kilchoman Mackay Distillery. Kilchoman is one of the newest, well, since Kilchoman opened, there's a new distillery that opened in Islay, but till very recently, Kilchoman was the newest distillery that opened in Islay, almost 100 years. They opened in 2005, and the first whiskey they released was a 3-year-old that got released in 2009. And basically since then, all they have been doing is just releasing non-aged statement bottles. And the Kilchoman Mackay is basically a mix between 3, 4 and 5-year-old whiskies with a finish of Oloroso sherries for about 8 months in Oloroso vats. Now, a little bit of the things about that make Kilchoman so characteristic is the fact that, first of all, it's the only distillery in Islay that is inland. It's not inland, but it's not on the coast like Laphroaig and Lagavulin and Port Ellen and so on and so on. All of them are like literally on the coast, like you can see the ocean hitting them. This one is a little bit inland. It's about probably 4 or 5 kilometers inland. They can see the beach from the distillery itself, but it's still a little bit more protected from the ocean. Even saying so, the whiskey in itself still has that iodine and that saltiness that come from Islay, because obviously the weather in Islay is actually quite unpredictable. The distillery itself is tiny. I've been there myself in 2014. It's a tiny little distillery that is basically part of a farm, and they are one of the only whiskies, one of the only Scotch whiskies, and one of the only whiskies in Ireland as well that do everything on site. They grow the barley, they do their own malting floors, they distill the spirit obviously on site, then they do the bottling on site, and I've seen the bottling. This at the time, obviously this was 6 years ago, the distillery was still quite small. Now Kilchoman is actually quite more renowned, so I'm assuming they did expansions, but when I was there, you can see like a group of 5 people just actually manually putting labels on the bottles and just loading the labeling machine and all that stuff. The malting floor is, I don't know, maybe 20 square meters. It was like tiny as well. There's still people, while I was there, you can walk through the malting floor and you can see the monkey shoulders just shoveling on the malt. It was actually quite an interesting experiences as well, because they were really passionate about the whiskey, and all the care was about making really good whiskey and just whiskey that they can drink themselves. Since then, Kilchoman has won many awards, and it's actually really interesting whiskey, especially because it got released at the height of all the discussion about the no-age statement scenario, in which we have discussed in previous videos as well. Obviously, in the last 10 years, because of the high whiskey demand, a lot of whiskey distilleries decided to go into something that is called NAS, or no-age statement bottlings, in which they blend whiskies from different ages, but they don't put the age on the bottle. They just put a name on it or something that represents the flavor of the whiskey and so on. So since then, they haven't changed that, and they haven't released it to date. For my knowledge, they haven't released an age statement yet, but that's fine by me because the whiskey is actually delicious. The Mackay Bay in itself is named after the Mackay Bay. That is, it's a beach that is not far away from the distillery itself, and apparently it's one of the most beautiful beaches in Islay. I actually didn't have the chance to see that beach itself. Other interesting facts as well is that they actually have a sheep farm as well, and when you go to the distillery, there's a sign at the front that says Kilchoman Distillery in very little letters at the bottom, and then the big sign that describes the distillery is actually sheep farm. So it's just almost really hard to find. But anyway, let's go and just taste the whiskey now. So this one is bottled at 46 ABV, which is, as you probably heard in other videos, it's one of my favorites ABV. I think whiskey really shines through on that particular strength. I think 40%. It's a little bit watered down, but still delicious. But 46 really shows how good the distilled spirit is, and my personal opinion. Now, this whiskey, as I said before, is a mix between 3, 4, 5 years. So you can expect for a whiskey that is that young, kind of like fresh aroma, spiciness, grassy, herbal styles of flavors. And this is what you actually get. But at the same time, the nose is actually quite complex. You get all the smoke. It's bottled at about 30 to 40 ppm, so it's quite smoky. And then as well, Kilchoman as well does a lot of ranges. Like they have a lot of single bottlings that we were going to reviewing as well. Specifically, they do something that they're very proud of that is called 100% Islay, which is basically they do everything in Islay and they get everything from Islay itself, which is actually quite impressive. Yeah, wow. So you get like a lot of citrus peel, a lot of white pepper, like spicy notes, like that sort of spiciness, and then a little bit at the back. Once you swallow and the back palate comes through, you probably get a little bit of white chocolate, maybe just a slightly sweetness. That probably will be from the American oaks. And then obviously you get all the spiciness from the Oloroso sherries, even though it's only 8 months, and it's a sherry butt, which turns out to be a pretty big barrel. But it's absolutely delicious whiskey, definitely worth having, and exploring this range is absolutely stunning. All right, guys, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Salam Jabbar.